Ooh, and we're back. We are back. I'm back. YouTube and friends and anyone that's watching this, I owe you an apology. I took way too long to get my thoughts together on the issues that I wanted to talk about in this video. Quick updates. Nursing school's going great, and by great I mean I am miserable, and I got the lowest grade I've ever gotten on a test in my life, which is an 82% last week, which if you know me, like that's really hard for me to deal with. But we're bouncing back, and now we have a siren. This is the anthem of Greeley, the city I live in. It's just constant sirens all the time because it's scary. I live in a very scary place. So without further ado, I wanted to tell you guys about my trip this past December, like a month ago, to Puerto Rico. The reason it took me so long to get my thoughts together on this issue and my trip and the experiences that I had is because they weren't good. I had a really hard time over there for multiple reasons, and it had nothing to do with the Puerto Rican people. They are absolutely fantastic people, and I felt so blessed to get to know them and their culture, and the people that I met over there are going to be lifelong friends for me, and I'm so thankful for that. No, the issues that I had were entirely due to Americans that were over there volunteering. But this video really is not about me and my experience in Puerto Rico. I want this video to be a reflection of the things I learned while I was there and the current state that Puerto Rico is in as an island and as a people, and to talk about the issues that they're facing. But I can't really do that and explain my thoughts on things without telling you what happened over there. So let's do it. So I went to Puerto Rico beginning of December with a small nonprofit that I was really excited to work with. I don't want to name them in the video because I don't have the best things to say about what happened. I went over there. There was only one employee of the nonprofit on the island at the time, which I think was the first issue, and she was the same age as me. And so I don't think that she really had quite a grasp of what housing a volunteer would really look like, or had really a plan for things that we would do while I was there. I got there, we were staying in a hostel in Viejo San Juan, which is like old San Juan. It's a super touristy area. The cruise ships come in every morning, and there's performances put on for the tourists and everything, and it's basically like Times Square of Puerto Rico. It's really fun, and it's still super cultured and like an amazing area, and the architecture is fantastic. I love old Spanish architecture, so that was really cool. Oh my god, I'm covered in cat hair. This is really gross, but this is my life because I have a cat and she gets into all my things. Don't you? Get in your house. So we were in Viejo San Juan. From there, I went to Humacao, which is a town on the southeastern tip of the island. Both of the storms hit the island at like a diagonal, starting from the southeastern tip and ending in the northwestern tip. The towns that were in the eye of the storm, in the path of the eye of the storm, got obviously hit the worst. So Humacao was more or less destroyed. Mind you, I was there 75 days after the storms had passed, and things were still bleak. The highways had light poles and signposts over the highway. They were dangerous to drive at night because you couldn't see anything. Like if you were to just be driving on the highway and then like the signs for the next 4 exits is just like in the road and you can't see it, that's a danger. Power lines down, like live wires down in areas that had power. It was really hard to see. I had never been in a disaster relief area, and seeing that that had become people's normal, like that's what they deal with on a daily basis. So we went to Hospital Ryder, which before the storm had the largest ICU on the island, one of the best dialysis clinics on the island, the largest neonatal critical care floor on the island. It was 7 stories. After the storm, the roof of the hospital was like shredded, and the pursuing rains after the storm completely destroyed the entire hospital. There was asbestos and black mold throughout the upper 6 stories of a multi-million dollar hospital. I believe they're still only functioning on the first level of the hospital, which is the ER, which honestly, like in my opinion, like as a pursuing medical professional, was probably not safe to be working in either, with that much black mold in the building itself. And we met with one of the medical directors of the hospital and a couple different construction companies that came with us and engineers that were working pro bono to try and figure out how we were going to go about getting funds to rebuild this hospital, and they were needing around like $20 million, if not more than that, because they were kind of debating either just rebuilding it or trying to repair, and juggling the logistics of both. Dealt with that. From that point, we went to Ponce on the south side of the island. After Ponce, we also spent a day in Yabucoa, and Yabucoa was hard. There were, I didn't see a single intact building there. Pretty much all of the buildings had been damaged in some fashion. They had a huge sporting arena that was just toppled over. And Yabucoa itself is without power still, without running water. The like provinces within Yabucoa that we were in are not expected to get power or running water back for at least 2 years. And that's in America. And what really struck me was the fact that one of the provinces we were in had like 150 people in it, and 70 of them are under the age of 15. Living in a community with no water, no power, the roads are destroyed, there's like transformers in the roadway. It was like nothing I'd ever seen. And we're talking like 3 months after the hurricane, and no one had gotten there to help. That's not an easy thing for anyone to see. But that was more or less my first week there. We went to a lot of different areas of the island, working on different projects, bringing supplies to different people. After our first week, the girl that I had been staying with left me in San Juan and basically told me that I needed to figure out the rest of the trip on my own. I was like shocked, you know, having another woman my age leave another girl unannounced for no reason in a city on an island where I don't speak great Spanish. But even if I did, like, I flew out there to be with you, to work with you, to stay with you, and we hadn't fought. We'd been getting along fine. The only complaint that she had even voiced to me was that I was waking up too late. And so I tried to do something about that, but she left me and dropped my things off with a 50-year-old man that she was friends with and told me I could couch surf there for the night if I wanted to, and from that point, I needed to find my way. Don't be this girl. Don't ever be this girl. Like, speaking to all my fellow women out there that are watching this, please take care of your sisters. I don't care if you hate someone. Don't leave them alone in a city, especially if they've flown out across the frickin' Gulf of Mexico to come be with you. That is not cool. That's not cool, man. Like, that's really fucked up. I don't know how else to say that. So that was the day I met Thaisha. Thaisha was the biggest blessing of this trip. She and I met the day that that girl kicked me out, and she called her mom, and her family took me in, and her family's amazing. She has an older sister named Thaisha. Her family's fantastic. I was so blessed to be with them. And thankfully, I had a backup plan. So I had known of a clinic on the northwestern side of the island in Quebradilla, which had volunteers there, not only from the US, but from Seattle specifically. And I'm from Seattle, so I was like, okay, cool. So I contacted the guy that was at the Quebradilla clinic, and they came and got me the next day. Northwestern Puerto Rico is so beautiful. I had a really great first day there. I got there on the day of their town Christmas party, and it was really fun. I really enjoyed the people there a lot. I ended up rooming in an abandoned part of the hospital with a man that I didn't know from Denver. The next day, I worked at the clinic all day, and then when we got off, we went to a couple beaches around town. I voiced to the man from Denver that I was with going to beaches that the man from Seattle that had came and got me had made some inappropriate comments about my body and about me and about where I was sleeping that I just felt really uncomfortable with. He was like, oh yeah, well that has happened to a couple of the girls here. We've had volunteers leave even because of it. And so hearing that, I was kind of concerned, and him and I had this really long conversation about respect and about men respecting women, which is crazy ironic because we went to one last beach right as the sun was setting. And I was like, okay, I'm getting in. I need to swim. I need to relax. I've had a super stressful time here in Puerto Rico. Like, I just need to chill. And while I was swimming, the guy from Denver, who was like 45 years old, both of these men were in their 40s. The guy from Denver took my phone, went 2.5 years back in my photos, and sent himself a number of photos I had taken of myself after losing like 10 pounds. And in the photos, I was completely naked. They were not meant for anyone to see. And I had no recollection that they were even still on my phone. He really had to search. And I had no idea. We stopped at a taco shop, to get food, and earlier in the day he had taken photos of me on his phone of me on this rock at one of the beaches. And so I was like, I want to see those photos. Can I have your phone? And I took his phone, and he had it open on one of the photos, and I like swiped, and I accidentally swiped out to his whole camera roll and saw the photos of me that he had sent himself. I just kind of like completely shut down. I didn't know how to deal with that. He's like 250 pounds, like 6'4", and 45 years old. I didn't know how to deal with like an older man violating me in that way. It kind of put me into a panic attack, and so I just kind of like shut into myself and didn't speak until we got back. Mind you, him and I are sharing a room. So I did not sleep that night. The next morning, I went to the clinic and I told one of the female nurses there what had happened, and they told the mayor, because the mayor owned the clinic, and they basically asked him, the guy, not to come in while I was there. He still did. And so I awkwardly kind of like hid in one of the back rooms assessing patients all day. And so my time at the clinic was cut short really severely. A lot of the experiences I wanted to have there like weren't able to happen just purely because like I couldn't stay there any longer. Not with how violated I felt. I didn't think I could go to anyone in the town because he was close with everyone. Like he was friends with the mayor, he was friends with the mayor's son, he was friends with the police department. And I had gotten to know that at the Christmas party. I realized like how small this town was and everyone knew each other, and I was this outsider coming in, and then I got violated, and I just thought it would be in my best interest to just leave. And so from that point, Fernando, who's an amazing man, Fernando is a photographer living in Puerto Rico. He's fantastic. He's incredible. You should all follow his work. I'll leave Thaisha and Fernando's information in the stuff below this. But he came and got me and drove me back to Thaisha's house. On the way, we went to a couple different waterfalls. We went up to El Yunque the day after that, and I kind of just spent the rest of the last of my days there trying to do self-care. Thankfully, I was surrounded by beautiful, beautiful, beautiful people. Again, like Thaisha's family is incredible, and I'm so thankful for them and everything they did for me. They they had a bakery. They were like the owners of like the town bakery, and so everyone would come to the bakery for breakfast in the morning, and they fed me. They like refused to let me buy my own food. We got in actually a pretty vicious fight over who was gonna pay for dinner my last night there, but that was my experience there. I had really horrible time with the Americans there, and the girl that ditched me in San Juan is from LA. The guy who made inappropriate comments about my body was from Seattle, and the guy who went through my phone and stole photos of me from 2.5 years ago was from Denver, and none of them were Puerto Rican. And I want to make that very clear because like I honestly have so much respect for the Puerto Rican people and their culture in general. It's a fantastic place, and I'm really sad that it is in the state that it's in. I'm sad because I didn't get to do a lot of the medical work that I went over there to try and accomplish, but I am happy because I was able to donate the funds that I rose for Puerto Rico to a good cause. I was able to get to know the Puerto Rican people really well and experience their culture, and I met a lot of really fantastic people, and I'm really thankful for that. And I honestly, like, the whole thing was a huge learning experience. To women that are going to be going on medical volunteer trips that are watching this, please go with a large nonprofit. My trip to the Philippines last summer, which I will post a video about eventually, I went with an international nonprofit, Foundation for International Medical Relief of Children. It's a mouthful. And they're amazing. Like, I really suggest if you want to do medical volunteerism at all, go with FIMRIC. They're fantastic. I love them. But there were not a lot of huge nonprofits in Puerto Rico that were accepting volunteers, and that was my issue. And so the organization that I went over there with was very small. Again, one person over there, one representative from the organization on the island, and I think that that was one of the mistakes I made because I didn't realize that, one, she was my age, two, that they didn't have a plan set necessarily, and you have to have more people to rely on than just like one person. You really, if you're gonna be putting yourself out there, not that Puerto Rico's unsafe, but like being a woman alone anywhere is unsafe, you have to just know your resources. And that's why I'm so happy that I had a backup, even though the backup went worse than the initial part of the trip, but that's fine. You know what? It's a learning experience.